Hello again. Welcome back to Miss Cowgill's geometry class. We're going to do some examples of some problems using area and circumference. So we're going to call this Q4 week 1 so we can kind of keep track of where we are with all this. So I'm calling everything starting with our remote learning online fantasticness Q4. Whether it's Q4 or not, doesn't matter. That's what I'm calling it. So you'll see everything Q4W1 for this stuff. Okay, so let's start by reviewing what our formulas are for area and circumference. So area for a circle, so I'm going to write a big A and then a little c, so that we know this is area for a circle, not for like a triangle or something. Area is equal to pi times the radius squared. So remember, R stands for radius. And it's squared. So if this term is squared, that means the units on our answer will be squared. So our circumference formula, I don't have to put a little c because circumference is only for circles. Circumference is 2 times pi times the radius. I know these two look very similar. They both have a 2 and a radius and a pi. One of them is squared, the other one's just multiplied by 2. And let's remember, this R also stands for radius. There's another version of the circumference formula that I often use. So, or circumference equals pi times d. And in this case, d stands for diameter. You got it. So it depends on what your problem gives you, whether you want to use the radius version or the diameter version. I like the diameter version because there's fewer steps to do. So if you will, make sure that you're writing all this down somewhere, hopefully in your math notebook. If you don't have a math notebook, make sure that you just find some kind of notebook that you have at your house and take notes, because I expect that you'll be using your notes on our weekly quizzes. So let's look at an example. So let's draw a circle to start with. That looks pretty good. So here's a circle. Let's put a center point in here. Here's a center point. Let's call that point Q. So this circle is Q, and I'm going to draw a radius. Call this point R. So I'm going to say the distance from Q to R is 3 centimeters. Now that we know the distance from Q to R is 3 centimeters, what are we going to do? Find the area of circle Q. Remember, the circle with a dot in it symbol means circle Q. Find the circumference of circle Q. So first step I always do is I write down my formula. So I'm going to do area over here in red. Area equals pi r squared. And circumference is equal to 2 times pi times the radius. Why did I use this form instead of the one with the pi times d? Well, because I have a radius in my diagram. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm also going to write this information. QR, distance from Q to R is 3 centimeters. I'm going to write that on my diagram. 3 centimeters. So first let's start with area. This is my radius. My radius is 3 centimeters, so I'm going to plug this in right here. If it helps, go ahead and put some parentheses around the r. So area is equal to pi times 3 squared. Pretty easy. Area is going to be equal to, well, 3 squared is 9, and we always put the number in front of pi once we multiply this out. So 3 times 3 is 9 pi. And then I want to make sure I put units on this. My units are centimeters, and this one I squared the centimeters, so centimeters squared. Your area will always have square units. If you don't have square units, then you did something wrong. Okay, let's do circumference. Again, you can put parentheses around your variable r. Circumference is equal to 2 times pi times 3. So to solve this, I'm going to be multiplying 2 times 3. 2 times 3 is 6. So I have 6 pi, and then I'm done. I have to put units on here. The 3 centimeters did not get squared, so this is just 6 pi centimeters. So your circumference will never have square, it's just a length. Area will always have square. Okay, go ahead and copy all that down. Pause if you need to get the rest of that copied down into your notes, and we are going to do another example with a diameter in our circle. Okay, let's move on and do another example. So let's get another circle. So here's our circle. And let's give it a center point. Let's call that M. And we're going to draw a diameter. So I'm going to go from one side through the center point over to the other side. So circle M, let's call this point over here L, this point N. So I'm going to say find the area and circumference of circle M. So in order to do that, we're going to need some information. So we need to know what is either the radius or the diameter. So in this one, I'm going to tell you that the distance from L to N is 12 inches. So L to N, that's this whole thing. That's the diameter. So we're going to make a note over here and say this equals D. So this is 12 inches. I always mark my information on my diagram. So let's start with our area formula. Area is equal to pi times the radius squared. Put parentheses around that r. So I know looking up here that my diameter is 12, but what is my radius? What is this distance? Or I could also say what is the distance from L to M. Those should be the same. So we know that the diameter is made up of 2 radii, so I can divide 12 by 2 to get my radius. So 12 divided by 2 equals 6 inches, which is my radius. Go ahead and mark that information on my diagram. Now let's plug this information in for my r. So area is equal to pi times 6 squared. So my area for circle M is 6 squared is 36. 36 pi. And then my units are inches, and this one was squared, so inches squared. we go. Let's do circumference next. Circumference, this one, I'm going to use my other circumference formula because it's got diameter in it. So pi times diameter, pi d. I like this one because it's easy. Circumference is equal to pi times diameter. Diameter is 12, so 12 pi inches. No math. I literally just had to know geometry and be able to plug a number in. And that is my answer. Circumference of circle M is 12 pi inches. So we will call that one good for today. Make sure that you write down any questions you have, and I will see you hopefully sometime on Zoom, and then we'll have a quiz.